there's a lot of talk in the news about these rising interest rates. They are skyrocketing, apparently, and people are afraid that they're not going to be able to afford a house. So can you talk through the real impact of what rising interest rates really mean on a month-to-month basis on your mortgage payment, let's say on a $200,000 house?
So on like a $200,000 home, for example, the difference in mortgage payment on even 1% of interest, you're talking about like $100. You start going up into the 300s, $150, $200 difference per month. So let's just say it's around $100 per month for even a 1% interest rate change. It doesn't, with what's happening now in the market, with where inflation is, where it's projected to go, mortgage rates have absolutely gone higher. Higher is a relative term. Instead of being at 2.7, they're at 3.5 and even 3.7. How high is 3.7? I'm not sure. Now, they're still going to climb more. The Federal Reserve most recently has said that they're going to raise them 4 times in 2022. So at the end of the day, they're going to go even higher more than likely. Higher is relative. You're not talking going up 3, 4, 5 percentage points. You're talking about 1 percentage point. That difference is generally $100 per month on a monthly payment. What I tell people a lot of times is that you want to create a budget. Buying a home is such a big investment, Sophie, that you've got to budget yourself out, and you should be budgeting yourself out. So if you see that your payment's going to be $100 more this year than it would have been had you purchased or whatever it is, you want to see what are other places you can cut and save and do things at. And at the end of the day, it's just about budgeting, and it's affordable. It always has been affordable. I've been doing this now since 1999, and rates at that time were in the 7s, 8s, and 9s. And now we're going to go into the 3s and 4s and maybe 5s. So these rates are half of what they were. So it doesn't have as dramatic of an effect as we think, but every dollar does count.
Right.
So every dollar counts. We want them lower, but if you budget yourself and prepare for it and you know what's coming, home ownership. I actually told this to somebody the other day. They call it buyer fatigue. You would know this better than anybody.
Oh, yes.
Is the buyers who are going out there and placing multiple offers on houses, and they're going to their 4th, 5th, and 6th. I had one buyer, he got his offer taken on his 16th offer. Now, how in the world, he's not like, tranquilized or something like that, for that type of emotional roller coaster is beyond me. But he survived 15 other offers that were not accepted, and his 16th was accepted. So a term that's been thrown around out there is buyer fatigue. It's my emotions keep going up and down and up and down. And I told this to a first-time home buyer I was talking to just the other day, actually. I said that in the end, nothing compares to home ownership. It just doesn't. It just doesn't. I mean, nothing compares to owning your own home and being able to do things you want to do. And at the very end of the day, it's the best thing there is. So you want to stay strong. You want to budget, create a budget, follow your income, follow your expenses, and you'll ultimately see that nothing compares to home ownership. It's the best thing in the world.
I agree. And, I'm also an investor. I'm a landlord. And I know that rents are going up faster than the interest rates are. So if you're concerned about, your mortgage payment going up if you buy a house in the fall and, the interest rate's going to go up 0.5%, a full percent, your rent is going to go up this year, probably equally to what that mortgage payment is. Absolutely.
The average rent in the United States in 2008 was like $700 a month. The average rent in 2021 was $1,100 per month. So rents are almost double what they were. They're absolutely going up. It's just a fact. Rents are higher. We're starting to get to a point now where mortgage payments are very comparable to rent, very comparable. So it's way more in line because, again, 10 years ago, when rent was $700, you're buying a house for $200,000. You're looking at a payment still $1,200, $1,300, $1,400. So it's dramatic. It's right. Much higher. Today, it's way more in line. So rents are a lot higher. And again, the problem with renting to an extent, I always say, now owning's not always good, renting's not always bad necessarily. You've got to do it when it's the right time in your life. But at the very end of the day, when you when you rent, you're dependent upon the landlord.
Right.
Landlord, this is a great time to sell. Landlord says, I'm cashing out on everything. You got to go. And now you got to find somewhere else. And then you have a dog, you have a pet. People with pets, They know the renting situation better than anybody. And as that rent gets squeezed, they are really struggling to find a place. Again, this is why another reason why home ownership is so good. The NAR, the National Association of Realtors, says it all the time that just in the end, home ownership, it provides stability for families, stronger communities, consistency. It's nothing compares to it. So you don't want to be dependent upon your landlord. I know you're an investor, but
yes, I am. But
you know,
yes, I agree with you though. I think that anybody who can and is in a position and a time in their life to own a home, I think is definitely, and you build wealth and assets in the process.
Nothing compares to it. Just nothing compares. When you start going into the tax implications, a $1,200 mortgage payment, when you do the tax deduction, is not really $1,200. Renting $1,200, it's $1,200. And like you said, there's no appreciation, there's no gain in anything. Even over time, even in the second biggest crash in the history of our country, which was the Great Recession back in 2007, when home values dropped, if you owned a home back before then and your home value dropped and you own the same home today, you're up dramatically. So the truth is nothing compares to home ownership. It just doesn't. It's a big deal.